Hey, okay, so Jimmy Dore has a live presentation going on. My suggestion is watch it tomorrow or later today when you can watch it from the beginning. Um, and Jimmy's been doing a lot of broadcasts on his show with Dylan Ratigan. Now, Dylan Ratigan, if you don't know who he is, he was on MSNBC or CNN or something like one of those, and he's an economic and finance guy, financial guy. Okay, so economic and financial guy. Uh, he had one of the top rated shows on cable news, and for what he was. And anyways, Dylan was one of those kind of, he leaned towards more common sense and so on and so forth, and he got to the point where he saw all the fuckery being taking place, criminal fuckery taking place within the government, within the financial sector, within the corporate sector, within the official sectors of the government, and he started speaking out about it, and he was fired. He was let go. So this guy was making pretty good money, uh, and he first started popping up on TYT, and then he was doing some other stuff, but he hadn't gone full bore, what they call radical. But what it is is principled, ethical, uh, and basically starting to see shit for what it was. But even still, before recently, when he started popping up on Jimmy Dore's show a lot, uh, he was still somewhat in the mainstream left of liberal, and definitely left of neocon, conservative Republican. He was still conservative and mainstream in some ways, but you can see the growth of his clarity of thinking, of his critical thinking. Now he still vacillates between going what many of those of the pundits and the neoliberals and the neocons and even the even the so-called progressive and the left who go tribal partisanship, um, and so on and so forth. He still vacillates somewhat, but you can see his growth to the very logical and very common sense uh, anger and outrage at the shit fuckery that's happening. And the reason I use shit fuckery because there's a channel that I follow on YouTube, which I absolutely love. They're an Australian group that and they use shit fuckery a lot, and they do it in a sarcastic, comical way. But they basically give you the facts on the ground, realities, and they do it in a very clever way. And even to the point that that the Australian government has been trying to take them down, and even go into Google and other platforms to try to make sure that they can't continue. And the title is Honest Government Ads. So they basically say, they have these figures that they say, we're from we're from the Australian government, or we're from the government, and this is, and so it's a parody, but it's a very on the nose, very specific, and very truthful. And if you watch them, you can see the correlation of how the U.S., the U.K., the Australian, the French, you name it, how the governments are basically all basically the same, and the shitfuckery is blatant, blatantly there. And if you pay attention and if you're honest with yourself, you can understand that the shitfuckery is an apt word, an apt descriptor of what is taking place. And the reason why the word fascist keeps popping up, and why oftentimes people like me will call them fascists, call them dictators, call them authoritarians, is because they are acting like that. And so it's very apt that you watch Jimmy Dore. I plead with you to watch Jimmy Dore's live coverage, live show of today, either later today or tomorrow. And because Dylan has been, as I said, has been growing, and Jimmy has basically left behind any of the mainstream reason and logic behind, and he is just laying it all out. He's not. He still kind of curbs his language, but Jimmy is one of the few, and that is talking and wording it the way I do, and he's getting closer and closer to the understanding. And that's another reason why I love Jimmy, because he understands that no matter what label or sector that you believe yourself to be in, we're all getting universally screwed, and that we are on a path to living under a dictatorial, authoritarian, fascist reality, and none of that is good for anybody. It doesn't matter if you think you're a racist, authoritarian fascist. If anything comes out of you that can be looked on as not doing the accepted conditions and values that the dictatorial fascist authoritarians in power want, then you can and will be attacked. And depending on how radical and how violent they want to be, which is up in the air, you could be facing jail time. You could be facing a media owned and run by the fascists attack. You could be killed. You could have your family targeted. The amount of things that can happen to you is there. Now, understand, I keep on saying they have no ideology beyond we want power and we want to rule, we want to control, we want to have the leverage, which is what Dylan Ratigan asked. There was a question that he asked Jimmy. He said, "What do all of them have that? What do you think that they have that keeps control?" And Jimmy said one thing, and Dylan came out and said, "No, it's leverage. That's what they have." And leverage is a great way to describe it, because what they've done is taken all the money, all the power, the control of the land, control of everything, and that is how they get the leverage. And that is something that I've been talking about. Now, I haven't used the word leverage, but I've been using the word influence. I've been using all sorts of other descriptors, but that's exactly what it is. They have the leverage. And the reason why I talk the way I do is because money and the concept of money or monetary value for anything, whether you choose to use metals, precious metals, or gems, or the composite material that we call dollars or ruples or pesos or dinars, we accept. Without acceptance of this, that is where the leverage comes from. And those who already have the leverage or produce the leverage and control the leverage, therefore they have the overwhelming control. And control is the name of the game. So understand, the longer we allow this, the longer we allow them to have the leverage, have the control, have the levers, by acceptance of the societal need for some sort of monetary system or barter system or however, then we are capitulating, we are surrendering, and we are putting ourselves to be the serfs, the peasants, the slaves, all the things that we would like to deny and say that is not fair, that is not right, that is not moral, that is not ethical, because we allow it. We accept it. And if we do not have the imagination and the innovation, the will and drive, then we are accepting and internalizing. This is why I keep talking about tolerance. This is why tolerance is a joke. It is a inner crime against ourselves collectively. There can be no tolerance towards those who are driven to give self-fulfillment at the cost of the whole. And that is why you have racism. That is why you have classism. That is why we have misogyny. That is why we have the fake feminists, fake feminism. We have that is why we have pedophilia. That is why we have rapacious, rampant destruction of the natural world. It is all connected. It is all one, because we accept it and we surrender. We capitulate and we prop up the very system which enslaves and indoctrinates, and leaving ourselves vulnerable in every possible facet that we call existence. And if we want life, then we must break existence. We must change existence so that we can have life, so that we can strive for life. That is why I make videos on how to look at what existence is and what life could be, and how to build a society, a collective society that includes the natural world. Without it, we will have the self-prophesize, the self-fulfilling prophecy of destruction, Armageddon, end of life. This is a crucial time and period for us all. Otherwise, we might as well accept our own death and destruction. We might as well accept our evisceration of everything that we say we value, and just plod on and hope that we won't be relegated to death, immediate death, or physical harm, or mental harm, or spiritual harm, or whatever. Revolution. I mean, this is one thing I disagree with. Christopher Hitchens. I'm sorry, not Christopher. Chris Hedges was on. I did a video recently about his interview with Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy asked the question. And if you watch it, like I suggested, you watch it. Jimmy asked, "Why is violence, a violent revolution, not why is violence and revolution not something that we should do, considering that?" And I've made this point myself, is that the violence is always done, and Chris Hedges explains and says it himself that violence is always done by those in government, those who control. And Chris Hedges hasn't made the connection. Has not made the connection. And Jimmy, I think he's starting to make the connection. And I'm very proud of Jimmy for that. And for those of you who are watching, who watch my videos, I think if you've been really paying attention, you understand what I'm talking about. And you understand that when I say that nonviolent protests do not work because you are basically saying, "Please, sir, can I would you do this for me?" We are begging. That's it. Now, Jimmy points out that during Nixon's tenure, that the reason why Nixon did all these quote unquote progress policies, such as establishing the EPA, such as doing all sorts of other things, is because he was forced into it due to the projection, the forced projection at the time of the public. And it was forced projection because they weren't simply just demanding, they were projecting force and saying, "No, if you don't do it, there will be violence." The way they did it was, you either do it, or you can you'll have a violent revolution. The same thing happened during FDR's time. The same thing. And there are like Nixon, particularly Nixon. Nixon was talking with Henry Kissinger, and there's audio of Kissinger saying to Nixon, you know, we may have people here that are going to lynch us. Now, that is why I say that protest doesn't work, but a potential for a violent protest of people actually taking up arms to cause physical violence does move, does change things. But there was a failure during the time of FDR of the public to not for these not even half measures, not even quarter measures. They didn't follow through. Again, during Nixon's period, again, they did not follow through. Nixon might have been kicked out, but they did not follow through because it isn't just FDR or Nixon. They didn't follow through by going after the political arm, that is Congress. They didn't go after the intelligence arm. They didn't go after the, well, intelligence is basically, there's no real intelligence arm. What it is a secret police. The FBI are secret police. The Homeland Security secret police. All these other quote unquote agencies, they're just secret police to the DOD, the CIA. They're all secret police to crush dissent, send out disinformation, misinformation, to be a threat. The steel boot hills. That's what they are. And if you understand that, and if you understand that many of them, even into the lower echelons, are filled with uh, with uh, with people of the Ku Klux Klan sort of mentality, then you know. And it's not just the federal ones because it also happens in the state level and the local level. So right now is the time to force project. Right now is the time to have a force projection revolution. Right now is the time to understand that we vastly outnumber them, that we are willing to sacrifice and put our bodies into physical harm and force project because if not, and if we don't do that, and if we don't completely and utterly eviscerate the establishment and show our solidarity of intolerance, then we will have another period. If we, even if when we, because when that force projection is used and an implicit threat is put out there, if we don't follow through all the way, then it will come. It will happen again. And if we don't do it now, we will find ourselves where we will be forced to do so. So it has to be a choice of whether or not we want to do it now in solidarity or be forced into doing it. And by that time, any sort of thinking will have gone out the window. And it will be gerrymandered and fixed and all that and rigged so that those who are part of it, who have the ideology, will take advantage when the time comes that we are forced. That is how things happen. We must have a cleansing. And that cleansing means taking out the trash, the vermin, the parasites who control the levers of everything. Or we can accept. I will never accept. I will never, ever accept. And if you've been watching me and listening to me, you know that that my family, whom I love, I will not be swayed by threats of violence against them. Because I have come to that critical understanding that protecting your own is is betraying them. It is letting them down. And that all of it is futility if we do not stand up. Because what's the sense of capitulating because of fear or reality of harm to your family if it's only going to leave avenues for later when the violence can still be done? And that's the thing. Even if I was married, even if I had a girlfriend, I would not, that I loved dearly, I would not capitulate. And the only way you could get capitulation out of me is to torture me to the point that you break me. But that's also something that happens. I can say you have to kill me and torture me, and that's a factual reality. But and that's the only way you're going to be able to get me to capitulate. But at that time, I won't be me. But at that time, I won't. Nothing of my inner core will have survived. And I will be a traitor. But that's a reality that none of us can avoid. But in order to have that not happen, we must come to realize what I'm talking about. We must inform ourselves so that we can have enlightened self-defense, so that we may have enlightened self-preservation in order for us to have the morals and ethics, principles, which are universal. Without that, we have only chaos. And chaos is evil. Thank you.